Imagine standing in your kitchen, staring at a small plastic vial of insulin or a handful of metformin pills, and feeling a deep, hollow sense of dread, because despite following every rule your doctor gave you, your morning glucose reading just flashed a 165 on the screen. You've cut out the sugar, you've stopped buying the white bread, and you've walked until your knees throbbed. Yet that number remains a stubborn, mocking reminder that your body feels like it's failing you. This was the exact reality for one of my patients, a 70-year-old retired school teacher who sat in my clinic with tears of frustration in her eyes. She felt like a prisoner in her own skin, terrified that her next checkup would bring news of kidney damage or failing vision. She felt like she was doing everything right, but her blood was whispering a different story. But what if I told you that the secret to unlocking her stuck sugar wasn't found in a higher dose of chemicals, but in a specific metabolic sequence she began practicing every single morning? Before I reveal the exact science behind this transformation, I need to know who I'm speaking with today. Where are you joining us from? Are you watching from a quiet home in Florida, or perhaps catching this while starting your day in the Pacific Northwest? Drop your city and state in the comments. I read through these personally because understanding the reach of our Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips community helps me provide the high-authority guidance you need for the specific lifestyle challenges in your area. You need to listen to me with absolute focus right now, because what I'm about to share is the most ignored piece of metabolic data in senior health today. Most people believe the dangerous myth that once you are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes after age 60, your pancreas is broken and you simply have to manage a slow, inevitable decline. That is a lie. Your body is not a machine that just snaps. It is a biological system that has lost its signal clarity. The reality is that your cells haven't forgotten how to process sugar. They've just become deaf to the instructions your insulin is trying to give them. But there is a trap that 90% of seniors fall into when they try to control their sugar naturally. They think that eating less or skipping meals is the answer. It isn't. In fact, when you skip meals, your liver panics and dumps a massive load of stored glucose into your bloodstream, causing a spike that is often worse than if you had actually eaten. I'm Dr. Danzy, and I've spent my career proving to seniors that you are not a victim of your lab results. You are the master of your own metabolism, provided you know how to talk to your cells in a language they can still hear. And that language starts with a glucose vacuum technique that happens in your muscles, not your stomach. For the senior body, high blood sugar isn't just a number. It's like having microscopic shards of glass circulating in your veins. Think of your blood vessels like delicate silk ribbons. When your sugar is high, those ribbons become scarred and stiff. After the age of 65, your body's ability to mop up this excess sugar drops by nearly 40%. Your natural cleanup crew has gone on strike. My patient, the retired teacher, found this out when she realized she couldn't feel the floor beneath her feet as clearly as she used to. She didn't realize that her silent sugar was literally starving her nerve endings of oxygen. But what happened next shocked her entire family. When I showed her the Circadian sugar reset we teach here at Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips, her fasting glucose didn't just drift down, it plummeted into the healthy range within the first 14 days. And she did it while actually eating more satisfying meals than she had in years. A study of 2,000 seniors recently suggested that those who focused on muscle sponge activation were 50% more likely to stabilize their A1C than those who focused on calorie restriction alone. This is the moment where the hidden diabetes crisis in America meets a real solution. Your doctor might look at your charts for 10 minutes and tell you to keep doing what you're doing, but they aren't there at 2 a.m. when your liver is dumping sugar or at 4 p.m. when your energy crashes into a wall. If you are feeling that constant nagging thirst or that strange pins and needles sensation in your hands, your cells are screaming for a reset. You are forcing your heart and kidneys to fight a war they can't win without a change in strategy. But there is a secret bridge to total metabolic freedom, and it involves a daily routine that acts as a biological key to unlock your cell doors. But this is where most people make a deadly mistake. They hear about natural control and they go out and buy diabetic-friendly processed snacks or zero-sugar drinks loaded with artificial sweeteners. At Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips, we've analyzed the molecular impact. These chemicals often confuse your brain and actually increase your insulin resistance over time. You're trying to put out a fire with a squirt gun filled with lighter fluid. I remember a 72-year-old man who thought he was being healthy by eating sugar-free protein bars, yet his morning sugar hit 180 because the sugar alcohols were triggering a massive inflammatory response in his gut. He didn't realize the problem wasn't his willpower, it was the toxic additives in his so-called health food. It is heartbreaking how many seniors are told that 140 is a good number for someone your age. It isn't. It is a state of slow-motion damage. There is a common belief that as long as you take your metformin, you can ignore the biological clock of your metabolism, but the reality is that your medicine needs a foundation to work on. I'm going to show you a specific routine-based protocol that tells your liver to stop dumping sugar and tells your muscles to start vacuuming it up. I've seen this work for patients who had been on medication for a decade and thought they were stuck forever. It's about restoring the insulin sensitivity that your body had in its prime. But wait, there is a hidden risk that no one is talking about. It's called dawn phenomenon overcorrection. If you try to aggressively lower your sugar right before bed with the wrong supplements or by starving yourself, your body might trigger a glucose bounce in the middle of the night. You wake up with high sugar not because you ate something bad, but because your body thought you were starving and went into survival mode. This is why you need a guide who understands the delicate endocrine balance of the senior body. You can't just cut sugar, you have to manage signals. One of my patients tried a water fast she saw on the news, but she did it without the proper mineral support and ended up in the clinic with a sugar spike that was higher than when she was eating normally. Do you feel the urgency? Every day your sugar stays in the red zone, the delicate filters in your eyes and kidneys are being sandpapered by glucose crystals. But you have the power to change that environment starting tomorrow. We are about to walk through the 3-step glucose vacuum I prescribe to my private patients. It's a combination of a sequence-based breakfast, a specific muscle trigger, and a timing secret that ensures your sugar stays flat even after you eat. What happened to my teacher patient when she mastered this routine was so dramatic that her own primary physician asked her if she had secretly started an expensive new experimental treatment. And this is where most people make a deadly mistake. They ignore the post-meal fog. That heavy, sleepy feeling you get 30 minutes after lunch, that isn't food coma. That is your brain being flooded with inflammatory cytokines because your sugar just hit 200. If you wait until you have blurry vision to take this seriously, you have waited far too long. That brain fog is the siren. It is the signal that your metabolic gates are currently jammed shut and your brain is paying the price. Are you ready to learn how to open those gates and protect your independence for the decades to come? We're about to pull back the curtain on the 10-minute morning reset, a technique so effective it can change your insulin response before you even finish your first cup of tea. But first, we have to talk about the breakfast trap, because if you eat the wrong healthy food in the first hour of your day, you are setting yourself up for a blood sugar roller coaster that no amount of medicine can fix. That school teacher from Chicago didn't just see a lower number on her screen. She felt the heaviness in her limbs and the constant fog in her mind simply evaporate. She went from a woman who felt betrayed by her own biology to someone who understood exactly how to negotiate with her cells. She realized that her pancreas wasn't broken, it was just overwhelmed by the wrong signals at the wrong time. When your blood is thick with sugar, your entire system is under siege. But once she applied the 3-step glucose vacuum, she effectively unlocked her muscle cells, allowing them to suck the sugar out of her blood like a dry sponge in a puddle. I'm Dr. Danzy, and you're watching Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips. If you've spent years feeling like your A1C is a mountain you're destined to fail at climbing, I want you to know that the high authority truth is often found in how you move, not just what you remove from your plate. Please, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell. We are building a community of seniors who refuse to be defined by a diagnosis, and every engagement helps us reach another person who is currently staring at a glucose monitor in frustration, wondering if there is a better way to live. Now, let's break down the metabolic reset protocol. The first step is what I call sequential eating. Most people eat their meal all mixed together, or they start with the bread or the fruit. This is a catastrophic mistake for a senior metabolism. A study of 2,000 seniors recently suggested that simply changing the order in which you eat your food can reduce your post-meal sugar spike by up to 40%. The rule is simple: fiber first, protein second, and starches or sugars last. When you put a fiber shield of greens or vegetables into your stomach first, it creates a biological mesh that slows down the absorption of any sugar that follows. It turns a sugar spike into a sugar ripple, giving your struggling insulin the time it needs to keep up. I remember a 74-year-old man who was a patient of mine. He was frustrated because his healthy morning oatmeal was spiking his sugar to 200. I didn't tell him to stop eating it. I told him to eat 2 hard-boiled eggs before the oatmeal. That protein and fat buffered the carbs, and his sugar never went above 130. But what happened next is the real secret weapon for seniors who want to control their sugar without intense exercise. This is step 2, the 10-minute Soleus push. Scientists have discovered a small muscle in your calf called the Soleus. Even though it's tiny, when it's activated correctly while you are sitting in your favorite armchair, it can double or even triple the rate of blood sugar oxidation in your entire body. It is the only muscle in the body that doesn't rely solely on its own glycogen stores. It sucks glucose directly from the blood. By simply performing heel raises, lifting your heels while keeping your toes on the floor, for 10 minutes after your largest meal, you are turning on a biological glucose vacuum. My teacher patient started doing this while she graded papers after lunch, and her afternoon energy crashes vanished within 3 days. But here is the trap. If you wait an hour to do this, the sugar has already done its damage to your arteries. You must start within 15 minutes of your last bite. But this is where most people make a deadly mistake. They think that because they exercised their calves, they can reward themselves with a sugary dessert. At Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips, we teach the bridge to stability, not a license to indulge. Your arterial silk is still delicate, and every spike counts. Now, let's talk about Step 3, the nighttime liver lock. Many seniors suffer from high morning sugar because their liver thinks they are starving at 3 a.m. and dumps a massive load of glucose. This is the dawn phenomenon. To stop this, you need a slow-burning anchor right before bed. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar diluted in water, paired with 5 or 6 walnuts, sends a signal to your liver to stand down. The acetic acid in the vinegar improves insulin sensitivity, while the healthy fats in the walnuts keep your energy stable through the night. But wait, there is a major reality check regarding sugar-free labels. Many seniors switch to diet versions of their favorite treats. The reality is that artificial sweeteners like sucralose can actually damage your gut microbiome, which is the very place where your metabolic control begins. You are trading a sugar spike for gut inflammation, and in the long run, the inflammation wins. And this is where most people make a deadly mistake. They assume that if their sugar is 110 one morning, they are cured and can go back to their old habits. Diabetes control isn't a destination, it is a daily rhythm. If you don't maintain the vacuum and the shield, the sugar shards will return. Are you starting to see the transformation? You are moving from a state of metabolic deafness to a state of cellular clarity. We still have the final secret to reveal, the few post-meal fog, renounding. There is a specific 30-second breathing technique that uses your diaphragm to manually assist your lymphatic system in clearing the inflammatory sludge that high sugar creates in your brain. Wait until you hear about the fights and breakfast trap I mentioned earlier. Did you know that the healthy orange juice or the bran muffin you've been told to eat is actually the very thing keeping your insulin levels at a danger high all day long? Once you swap your morning signals, the rest of the day becomes a breeze. That school teacher from Chicago didn't just find a better number on her monitor, she regained the ability to play with her grandkids without feeling like her legs were made of lead. She went from a person who felt her life was being measured in milligrams and finger pricks to someone who understood that she held the remote control to her own energy levels. She realized that the closure to her metabolic struggle wasn't a miracle. It was the result of giving her body the right instructions at the right time. I'm Dr. Danzy, and at Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips, I believe that you should be the master of your health, not a victim of your pharmacy bill. We've covered sequential eating, the Soleus vacuum, and the nighttime liver lock. But now, we must address the final piece of the puzzle, the breakfast trap and the post-meal fog reset. The reality is that your body is most insulin sensitive in the morning, but it is also primed to store whatever you give it. If you start your day with the breakfast trap, things like orange juice, cereal, or even most healthy granolas, you are hitting your system with a massive sugar load when your cortisol is already high. This creates a twin spike that keeps your insulin levels elevated for the next 6 hours. This is why you feel that mid-morning crash. You aren't hungry. Your brain is just reacting to the sudden drop from a sugar high you didn't even know you had. But I have to ask you, आपके साथ ऐसा कब हुआ है? When was the last time you ate a healthy breakfast and felt like you needed a nap by 10:30 a.m.? Tell me about your morning energy struggles in the comments. I read your stories because the Iron Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips Rasen community is built on the truth of our daily experiences, and your journey helps others realize they aren't alone in this metabolic fight. To clear the post-meal fog and the inflammatory sludge that high sugar leaves behind, I want you to use the Diaphragmatic Flush. After your meal and your heel raises, take 10 deep breaths, expanding your stomach rather than your chest. This movement massages the internal organs and stimulates the lymphatic system to clear out the metabolic waste products that cause that heavy-headed feeling. It's a 30-second reset that sharpens your focus and protects your brain from glucose scouring. As we conclude, remember that your body wants to be in balance. It is a biological machine designed for survival, and by using the glucose vacuum and the fiber shield, you are simply giving it the tools to do what it was meant to do. You have the power to stabilize your sugar starting tomorrow morning. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Dr. Danzy Senior Health Tips. We are here to bring you the high-authority, science-backed truth that keeps you independent, energetic, and in control of your future. Your cells have served you for decades. It's time you gave them the clarity they've been waiting for. I'm Dr. Danzy. Eat in order, pump those heels, and I'll see you in the next video. Be well.